All right, sweet. Flatline MMA podcast episode number 75. It's fight week. It's a good week. Pay-per-view week. I cannot wait. UFC 262 this Saturday night. Stacked card. I cannot wait. Let's rewind. Last Saturday night, UFC Vegas 26. We had some good ones. I think a lot of people were shitting on this card because it really wasn't like posted anywhere. I don't think people really knew what fights were on here. Ended up being a pretty decent card. We had some phenomenal fights on there. We had some big name guys that I don't even think a lot of people knew were fighting that night, right? Just to touch on a couple, we had Carlos Diego Ferreira, a Flatlined legend. I forget what episode he was on. He was on a couple months back, taking on Gregor Gillespie. Two just solid guys in the top 15 of the stacked lightweight division. This was the one I had circled as fight of the night. This one was going to be the funnest one to watch, right? And I think these guys delivered, man. You got Gregor Gillespie, who's been out for 2 years, coming off his first pro loss, that obviously vicious head kick by Kevin Lee on the Nate Diaz, Jorge Masvidal Masvidal card. So that one, he's been out for a while, so we didn't know what he was going to look like. I feel like, he was just about to take on who was about to take on Brad Riddell a couple weeks back. That got pushed due to COVID. Then this fight with Ferreira got lined up. Diego Ferreira, obviously someone who's dangerous, beating the likes of like Anthony Pettis, right? This guy's good. Both of these guys, top 15 lightweights in the world. We knew this was going to be a scrap. And honestly, from the opening bell, these guys went at it. I will say, and I don't know if you were as impressed as I am, the fucking scrambles in this fight were incredible. Like, these guys just made it look so easy with the way that they were scrambling and just their work on the ground. And it was just so impressive to see, like, no one had the advantage over one another in that first round. Like, it was so even. Diego Ferreira was landing the harder shots in that round. And he's no slouch on the ground either. He knows what the hell he's doing. He was scrambling just as good as Gregor. Gregor gets up for the end of the first, and you could tell he was gassed. He was a little bit shaken, and then he just regained that second wind, and he just took it to Diego in that second round, ultimately getting takedowns at will, and then just finishing the fight via TKO. Super impressive win for Gregor, who's been out for so long, and finishing a guy like Diego Ferreira, who I believe that was the first time he's ever been finished in his career. So super impressive win by Gregor. Then it came the whole debate, best fisherman in MMA. Conor McGregor's chiming in. Friggin' everyone's chiming in about it. So that was funny to see. But obviously, great fight up until the TKO stoppage. Real quick, Kev, what did you think about this fight? Because I know you circled this one as well as one of the fight of the nights.
Yeah, this was pretty unique. I mean, I can't think of a fight that there was this much grappling. I don't know. It seemed like the whole first round, there was barely any strikes thrown. Diego did land a pretty good punch that seemed to kind of wobble Gregor a little bit. But, yeah, the scrambles were just insane. And there was really no advantage either way. I mean, Ferreira would throw in a submission attempt, and then Gregor would scramble out of it, end in top mount, and then Diego would be into something new. It was just a crazy pace that you knew wasn't going to be sustainable going into round two. It was just going to be, who wanted it more, and Gregor got that top position, got his back in the second, after again scrambling pretty much the whole second round up until the end. But yeah, both guys look great, and this is a big win for Gregor coming back after 2 years.
Yeah, and I mean, you take a look back at that Kevin Lee fight, and Gregor was winning that fight until that head kick happened, right? Like, he was doing really well in that fight. That was his chance to kind of propel right into the top 10, and obviously really unfortunate ending there. But to see him come back and see him be better than ever and take out a guy like Diego Ferreira was super impressive. So I'm hoping for Gregor, he gets a big name opponent next, which obviously, he was sitting at number 14. He just took out number 12, I believe. So he's definitely going to get a top 10 opponent next, I'm assuming. And Gregor's a big name. He's undefeated coming here, one of the best wrestlers to come into MMA. And of course, Diego Ferreira is still an absolute stud. He's still going to get a big name within that top 15. So overall, great fight. I believe that won. Did that win fight of the night? I think it did. I think it won fight of the night. But shout out Diego Ferreira, Gregor Gillespie. Congrats on the win there. Another one we had circled on here, Neil Magny taking on Jeff Neal. This one had all the makings to be a great fight. Jeff Neal is just this power puncher who can put anyone's lights out. He's coming off a loss to Wonder Boy. Neil Magny coming off a loss to Michael Chiesa. So I think both of these guys had something to prove. And Neil Magny just showing why he's always the cream of the crop in this welterweight division. I won't say it wasn't the most exciting fight in the world. I think Neil Magny just did a great job, just like in the clinch a lot of the times. And Neil, the other Jeff Neal didn't have an answer for any of that. And I wouldn't say he got exposed, but definitely Jeff Neal has a lot to work on. I think he's known as that just power puncher, and he just needs to evolve his other MMA skills to get to that like top of the level. Because Neil Magny's fought everyone and their mother in this division, and he's just so goddamn good. I mean, at one point, I think he was on a 6 or 7 fight win streak. The guy had all the makings to become a champion. So what'd you think about this one real quick?
Yeah, I think this just showed how much, UFC experience matters in fights like this. Magny he looked super comfortable. Like you said, in the clinch, he was working really well. They ended up on the mat a few times, and Magny was kind of winning those exchanges. He was moving around pretty well too, throwing some really good kicks to the body, and it seemed like Neil had a tough time to get within range to land the shots that he wanted. They wouldn't say that Magny ran away with the fight, but he was doing what he needed to do every single round to win the fight. And I think it just comes with experience, game planning, and like you said, Jeff Neal fought a pretty good fight, but there are some things that I think he could work on. Still relatively new to UFC, and taking Neil Magny, that's a big fight for anyone. So I think Jeff Neal's going to come back a lot better, and I think he's definitely a guy to look out for in the next few years, because I think he could potentially be a champ in the future.
Oh yeah, I mean, going from back-to-back opponents of Wonder Boy and then Neil Magny is that's a tall task, right? So, and like you said, it's not like Magny beat the shit out of him, ran away with the fight. He looked good. He just, again, things he needs to work on. Going against a guy like Magny, who he's great at everything, right? Mm-hmm. He's so good. He's always been looming in the top 10 within this welterweight division. And like you said, Neil's a young guy in the sport. The guy's still working at friggin' Texas Roadhouse while he's fighting Neil Magny, right? You know what I mean? Like he's a guy that like needs to evolve in this sport. He just took on 2 killers back to back. I still think give him a top 15 opponent, right? Have him get a nice knockout. We all saw what he did to Platinum Mike Perry. The guy's an absolute savage. He put people's lights out. So I'm still aboard the Jeff Neal train. I think he's still so good. He proved a lot in that fight, but he also showed a lot that he needs to work on. So shout out Neil Magny. Great win. Great fight there. I don't even want to touch on this one too much, but welterweight co-main event, Donald Cerrone taking on Alex Morono. Short notice fight. Obviously, Donald Cerrone is supposed to take on Diego Sanchez. I don't even want to get into that whole thing. I don't even really know what happens. Diego Sanchez went nuts. The UFC released him, whatever. Morono stepped in on short notice to take on Cerrone on 6 days, I believe. Man, just tough to see Cerrone go out like that. 5 losses in a row for him, just getting obliterated on the feet. And I don't think he looked bad until that knockout. I really didn't. I thought he got some great body kicks against Morono. You could tell that it was making Morono uncomfortable, backing up a little bit. But you texted me best on Sunday morning. You just said his chin's deteriorating. He just can't take that punch anymore. And I think it's so true, man. Like obviously hard punch by Morono. I'm never going to understand what that feels like, but Cerrone, man, he just doesn't look the same on the feet anymore. It's so sad, and seeing him go out like that was terrible. I know Dana's going to call for his retirement or potential release, whatever happens there. But I guess real quick, just you think Cerrone's done? You don't have to talk about the fight, but you think Cerrone's done?
Yeah, he seemed pretty adamant in the post-fight interview that he didn't want to go out on this note. But five fight losing streak, it's going to be a tough thing for him to break. And some fighters get stuck into the cycle where they just want to do one more because they think, that they finish on a win and they think they still got more in the tank and they want to go longer, or they finish on a loss and they're like, I don't want to go out like that. And then they just kind of get caught into a cycle where they just, fight a lot longer than they should. Cerrone's 38 years old. He's been knocked out a bunch. It's on a pretty good losing streak right now. I think, I don't know. I mean, I know it's got to be tough for him to go out on a loss like this, but if he doesn't change his game up, I don't think it's a good idea for him to fight again.
No, it was tough to see. And obviously, brutal. And obviously you got to give it up to Alex Morono. He, had a hard fought fight against Anthony Pettis, and then coming in against a legend, Donald Cerrone. And I know, not the best version of Cerrone that we've seen, but tough to see him go like that. Cerrone's a legend, right? It's like, we look back at that Tony Ferguson fight, where he gave Ferguson a pretty good first round. I know he was getting beat up, right? But gave him a really good first round. I thought he looked good. And then, he's just gone downhill ever since. We were talking about when he became a dad and he went on that little run where he was just beating the shit out of Eli Quinta, Alexander Hernandez. He looked so freaking good. And then out of nowhere, I think he just lost it. So obviously Cowboy's a legend, man. Love the guy. Hopefully, I don't want him to continue and go down that BJ Penn route. So I definitely want him to go out on a high note. So maybe one more, give him someone out of the top 15, maybe a prospect, someone like that. Let's get him a win and let him ride off into the sunset there. Shout out Morono, taking out a legend like that. And then let's get to the main event real quick. I just want to touch on it real quick. I think a lot of people were trashing this main event. Obviously, originally supposed to be Corey Sandhagen taking on TJ Dillashaw. What a fight that would have been. That got rescheduled, I believe, to July. Main event, Marina Rodriguez, Michelle Waterson stepping in on short notice, fighting each other here. Women flyweight fight. What do you think about this fight? Because I thought this was an absolute scrap, way better than I originally thought. These girls came to fight, and Waterson continuing to prove how tough she is.
Yeah, I haven't watched a whole lot of Rodriguez, but man, she was pretty sharp in there. I mean, her Muay Thai, the punches that she was landing, the kicks, there was so much power behind everything that she did. Everything was just so vicious, and especially when she'd open up too and just let off just 8-shot combination.
Yeah.
She did it a few times, and I couldn't believe Waterson was able to make her way out of it. It just goes to show how tough Michelle Waterson is. But, it was a fun fight to watch. Definitely thought Marina, won the majority of the fight. I don't know if you maybe give Waterson the fourth round or third round, whatever one she got that takedown in.
Yep.
But the rest of the fight, I think Marina pretty much took it. Waterson had some great kicks, but in terms of damage and effectiveness, they were nothing compared to what Rodriguez was landing. But overall, really fun fight. Stylistically, it was a fun fight to watch, kind of like that Muay Thai style versus a karate fighter. Waterson had some really accurate kicks that took Marina off her feet, which is pretty cool to see. There's some really unique techniques that you don't typically see in the UFC. I thought it was an I had a lot of fun watching the whole fight.
Yeah, it was fun. A lot, like I said, a lot of people were trashing it, but these girls came to fight. Um, I don't know. Marina kind of looked like a little Joanna out there, right? She was just swinging, like you say. Her combos looked vicious, and I feel like time and time again, me and you, whenever we do these reaction videos, we're always talking about Michelle Waterson not winning, but her just like being the toughest son of a bitch out there, right? Like just taking shots, but also like, yeah, I love her kicks, man. Like she's so crafty with her kicks, like that karate style that she has. Obviously tough as nails. And you got to give Marina credit. This girl is someone who is ranked, ranked in the top 6 in the world, right? This girl's coming for the belt. She looks really good, 14-1, right? Great record behind her. You got the cardio. She's got the output. She can land at will. So she looks good, man. Definitely someone to watch out for in the division. And then she took this fight on short notice too. So you got to give both these girls credit for kind of saving the event here and putting on a show. So I like you said, I enjoyed this whole card. Really, this whole main card was great. Again, just the UFC continuing to put on great fight nights. So UFC Vegas 26, one for the books as well. And guys, let's just get to the pay-per-view portion. I just want to review 2 quick fights, get some predictions for that. UFC 262 this Saturday night in Houston, I believe, the Toyota Center. Going to be full fans, so this is going to be absolutely nuts. We got Charles Oliveira taking on Michael Chandler for the vacant lightweight championship. Obviously, Khabib vacating a few months back. These guys are fighting for the hardware. I am so excited. And then we got Tony Ferguson in the co-main event taking on Beneil Dariush. My God, it's going to be a bloodbath. One fight I wanted to just touch upon real quick, Shane Burgos, Edson Barbosa, calling it right now. That is going to be fight of the night. Someone might die in that fight. There's definitely going to be a fucking KO. There's going to be blood. And I don't even know who's going to win that one. Quick prediction on that. I'm curious to hear who you think's winning that one.
I'm going to go with Barboza on that one. Burgos has got great boxing, great hands, but he does get hit quite a bit. Yep. And I think with how deadly Barboza's kicks are, all he has to do is land one. And it doesn't matter if it's on the body, on the head, or even if he chews him apart with leg kicks. I think, Burgos is such an exciting fighter to watch because he's not afraid to get hit. But I think that's going to work against him in this fight because Barboza, you can't take too many of his kicks. You have to find a way around it. And if Burgos tries to go into the fire and try to make it a firefight with him, I don't know. I mean, he's definitely got the boxing to stand and trade with Barboza, but I think Barboza's kicks are the difference maker in this one.
This is so fun. So fun. Burgos, like you said, this man, he went out and he swung with Josh Emmett. Who the fuck swings with Josh Emmett? You know what I mean? Like, you have to be absolutely insane to swing with Josh Emmett. But this guy can take a punch. We've seen him take punches from some of the best guys in the division, right? This guy's tough as they come. But Edson Barbosa is just different level of striking. Highest level of striking you can think of in this division, especially, right? Like, he's so goddamn good. You just said it. His kicks are friggin' deadly. So how many highlights does he have in the UFC in the lightweight division? Just taking guys' souls, right? This one is going to be fun. Unfortunately, I do agree with you. I think Barbosa is going to be a little bit too much. I think the kicks to the body are just going to be, we're not going to hear him now because they got fans in the stands, but they're just going to be sickening to hear. I think he's going to beat up the body a lot. I think he's going to get a spectacular knockout. I feel like we've missed that from Barbosa, since dropping down to featherweight. So I'm curious to see if he can get that highlight reel knockout. But Burgos is a tough guy to put away. We've seen Calvin Kattar do it. So I think Barbosa's got the power to do it as well. So that's fun one, guys. Do not miss that one. That's opening the pay-per-view card. Like, that is insane card to start the pay-per-view. So I am so excited to see these two guys duke it out. Fight of the night, calling it now. And let's just skip right to the co-main event. I know we lost Edmund Shabazian versus Jack Hermanson. Jack Hermanson's camp, someone had COVID. So they're getting pushed to next weekend. Co-main event, Tony Ferguson taking on Beneil Dariush. It's like the tale of two fighters here. Tony Ferguson 0-2 in his last two fights. Beneil Dariush, 6-fight win streak in the lightweight division. This guy's an absolute savage. When has he been in a boring fight? He hasn't. He gets people's heads. He KOs people. He's just an absolute just monster of a human. We just saw him come to a split decision victory over Diego Ferreira, who just got into a great fight with Gregor on last week's card, taking on Tony Ferguson. I mean, this guy's, last two losses to the guy fighting for the title, Charles do Bronx Oliveira, and then Justin Gaethje. Obviously nothing to be like, oh, Tony's done. He just took on two killers. This is a fight that we want to see Tony in. Just all out craziness, madness, and Beneil is the perfect dance partner for him. Give me a prediction. What do you think about the fight?
Yeah, it's going to be a fun fight no matter what. It's weird to see Tony Ferguson in this position where he's 0-2 in his last two fights. And the way his last fight went, I mean, we've never seen him dominated like that in the UFC. It was just a crazy thing to see. I don't know if Dariush is going to be able to have that type of success with him, but I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see how his head is coming into the fight after, the fight with Gaethje. That was just a bloodbath. Got his head batted pretty good, and then the Oliveira fight where he was just pretty much dominated from the beginning of round one all the way to the end of round three. It's going to be a tough spot to be in mentally. But I still have a hard time betting against him because no matter what, he's still going to go, into the depths. He's going to go into those really late rounds. And when the fight gets tough, that's kind of where he thrives. So I don't know. I still think he's dangerous. I still think he's going to be really hard to put away. And I think if you lock anyone in a cage with Tony Ferguson for 15 minutes, he's got a pretty good chance of winning. So I'm going to go with Ferguson on this one. I think he's got the hunger too.
Couldn't have said it better myself, man. I think people sleep on Ferguson because of his last two losses. He took on probably the best Gaethje you'll ever fight in your entire life.
Yep.
And he took on probably the best Charles Oliveira you'll ever face in your life. Two guys that were on win streaks. The next fight they're fighting for the title, like, it's not like Tony is losing like Donald Cerrone is. He's facing top three guys in the world. And again, Beneil's not a person I'm going to overlook. Beneil is an absolute savage. You don't go on a 6-fight win streak within this division without being an absolute stud, right? Look at the names on here: Drew Dober, Drakkar Klose, Diego Ferreira, like just ridiculous names on here that you cannot take this guy lightly. He is great everywhere. He can submit you, he can KO you, but he can also stand with you for 3 rounds and just beat the shit out of you, right? We saw him get into that war with Diego Ferreira. A great fucking fight he had back in February. It was a great fight. So this Dariush is a guy that's good everywhere. He's got a chip on his shoulder. I feel like he has always been overlooked in this division. He's finally getting his dues, taking on fucking Tony Ferguson. El Kakui. I'm so excited for this one, and I'm so excited to see Tony get back. And I really think he's going to put a beating on Dariush. I think he's going to bloody him up on the feet. I think we're going to see the vintage elbows. I think we're going to see the knees. I think we're just going to see Tony start doing his flips and his rolls. I think we're going to see vintage Tony. He's getting old, don't get me wrong. I know there's not that much left in the tank for him, but I think he's got a couple of just great performances left, and this is going to be one of them. I'm not coming out and saying Tony's going to be a champion anytime soon, anything like that, but I think he's going to be in some fun fights in his next couple fights, and it's going to start with this one. But I think he's going to put on a show, and this is a statement fight for Tony. You say it all the time on this show. When you go 0-3, you got to talk to the big man, and sometimes it doesn't go your way, right? Obviously, Cowboy's a little bit different. He's in a different situation. He's a legend. He's Guy fights every friggin' 2 weeks. For a guy like Tony, right? Like, if he loses this one, who knows what's going to happen, right? So it's so tough. Back against the wall, he's got a statement to make. So, guys, please do not miss this co-main event. This is going to be a good one. I can promise you that right now. These two guys are coming to fight, so don't blink. Let's get to the main event, the good stuff, buddy. Charles do Bronx Oliveira taking on Michael Chandler. Main event time for the lightweight strap, for Khabib's lightweight strap. This is for all the marbles. You got two guys, Charles Oliveira, who is just on an absolute tear. What's he on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fight win streak, obviously dominating Tony Ferguson in his last fight. You got Michael Chandler, who's had one fight in the UFC, KOing Dan Hooker back at UFC 257 in the co-main event, making a statement, coming from Bellator. I know a lot of people, I think, weren't pleased that Poirier wasn't in this position here. And, you know, he took the Conor fight, which is completely understandable. But this is such a fun fight. You got two different styles here. You got Michael Chandler, who's just this dominant, just stocky wrestler with just ridiculous hands and knockout power, taking on Oliveira, who's just ridiculous on the ground. But, we saw what he did to Tony Ferguson on the feet. So now DuBronx can strike. So this is going to be fun. Break this fight down for me. Give me that prediction. We got a man new, but who's it going to be?
So everything about Charles Oliveira, or everything about Dan Hooker that I was afraid of for Michael Chandler in their first fight, Charles Oliveira has. He's got the height. He's got the reach advantage. He's got really deadly striking. But where I think he differs is I think he's going to come right at him right off the bat. I don't think he's going to try to I don't think there's going to be a feeling out process like Dan Hooker kind of did. You know, with Chandler being the shorter fighter, I know Oliveira's got great knees. He throws those. He's got good boxing. I mean, we've just seen him evolve over the past 2 fights. Just, you know, he was already a great fighter, but I mean, he looks completely different. He looks to be on a different level. You know, and if it hits the mat, you know, Chandler's a great wrestler. You know, he could definitely take him down, but goes to the mat. I mean, Oliveira's jiu-jitsu is, I don't know. I mean, we just saw what he did to Tony. He almost broke Tony's arm in the first round, and like, man, like nobody does that to Tony. Tony's usually doing that to other people. So
if that was anyone else, they would have tapped. We'll just say that.
100%. Yeah, it was completely hyperextended. He was kind of saved by the bell. But I think even if there was 4 minutes left on the clock, I don't think Tony would have tapped. But yeah, there's so many different tools, and you know, Oliveira is just always getting better. And I find his pace and his cardio to be, you know, a weapon as well.
Yep.
So I know we've made predictions for this fight before, and there's cases to be made for either guy, and I forget who I said last time, but I think Oliveira gets this win. I think pretty much wherever the fight goes, I see Oliveira winning. The one thing that the one advantage or 2 advantages that Chandler has, he's got a ton of power in his hands.
Yep.
So he's got that one shot knockout power. I'm not saying he's got, you know, a puncher's chance. He's got really good boxing. He's a danger in that aspect. He's got really good wrestling too. But I think with Oliveira's jiu-jitsu, I think Chandler's probably going to want to keep it on the feet. And that's how I see him winning this fight. But I think higher likelihood, I think Oliveira gets the win.
Man, I did not expect that from you, because your initial prediction was Michael Chandler. It was.
I like Chandler a lot. Now I would like to see him win, but just looking at the 2 fighters and their past couple fights and the fight stylistically. I don't know. Oliveira is a dangerous matchup for him.
He is. He's a beast. This fight is so unpredictable. So unpredictable. And I think originally we made predictions on if Poirier was in this position, right? And it's just so tough because Oliveira has evolved so much as a fighter, and he's not just this ground guy anymore. And that's what's like so tricky about making a prediction against him, because he can strike now, because his cardio is like ridiculous now. Like he's a very underrated guy in terms of pace and his striking. So I just can't bet against Chandler. He's here for a reason. That win over Dan Hooker was so impressive to me because that, like you said, I'm like, Jesus, Dan Hooker's bigger than him. His reach is ridiculous. Like Hooker does not get taken out like that. Like, but you're right, man. Like Charles Oliveira has just been looking like he can't be beat right now. 8-fight win streak. This man has not been beat in a while. And Michael Chandler, we saw him get knocked out by Patricio Pitbull, who was a featherweight. So that to me screws up my prediction as well. But Michael Chandler came to the UFC to make a statement, and what a story it would be if he can come in after all the years of people telling him he can't hang with the lightweights in the UFC, comes in, starches Dan Hooker, and then he comes in and he takes the belt right from Charles Oliveira. I mean, that can't be written, man. I'm going Chandler. I think he's going to knock Oliveira out early. I think it's going to be crazy. I think it's going to be like end of the first round. Chandler's just going to overhand right. It's going to be beautiful, and new lightweight champion of the world. That's my prediction. So I haven't seen any of the embeddeds and the countdowns yet, but I'm just obviously Chandler's in ridiculous shape. Like the dude is just an absolute workhorse, shredded out of his mind. Oliveira's predicting a first round knockout. That's the only part I saw was Oliveira saying, I'm going to win via first round knockout, which that's insane if that happens, but I wouldn't put it past Oliveira for what he did to El Kukui. So such a fun fight, guys. UFC 262 is going to be a banger. I know we lost a few fights on there. Obviously, we lost the Nate Diaz fight. That got moved. And then we obviously lost the Edmund Shabazian fight versus Jack Hermanson. Both of those fights got rescheduled. This is still such a good card. Just the co-main and the main alone is worth buying. Also have Caitlin Chikagian on there taking on Vivian Arroyo. Obviously, I think everyone knows Caitlin just tough as nails. So it'll be a fun fight to watch too. But UFC 262 live, ESPN Plus. Go buy that shit. Fans in attendance, so it's going to be nuts. We all saw what happened in the last pay-per-view with fans. One of the best cards ever. So hopefully this one can continue. And we got Houston rocking there, so I'm so excited. What else we got, buddy? Any other news we got to talk about?
I mean, it seems like more fighters are pulling out of fights because of injuries. Like, it seems like this has been, like, more than ever. Like, I know we get COVID and stuff, but I don't know, like the Dillashaw and Diaz, and I don't know. It's just crazy. I don't remember fighters pulling out like this because of injuries in training camp.
Diaz is shocking to me because that guy, they said this is the first fight he has ever pulled out of his life. Like, isn't that fucking crazy? Diaz is as tough as they come. Dillashaw, I'm so upset about the Dillashaw fight.
Yeah.
That we should have seen that on Saturday night. But yeah, I agree with you. There's definitely been more and more disruptions to all these cards, whether it be COVID, whether it be injuries, whether it be friggin' whatever the hell Diego Sanchez just did. I don't even know. But I feel like no card has ever been intact since this year. You know what I mean? Like whether it be the Conor card or this UFC 262 card coming up. Knock on wood, luckily we have been good with some of the main events, minus obviously minus the TJ and Sandhagen card, and then the Nate Diaz fight, which was supposed to be the co-main event on this card. Those were like the two biggest ones this year, but it's going to happen. But again, the injuries are just piling up and definitely taking a toll on some of these cards. But there's still, the UFC is doing a good job at just stacking them up and making sure that like even this last week's card, like, was it the most stacked card in the world? No, but the fights delivered, and that was the biggest part about it. It's all about how the fights deliver, so can't complain about that. So, guys, so many good fights coming up. This whole summer is just filled with ridiculous fights. Next week, I can't wait to give our reaction to this card, and then next Saturday night, we have our guy, New England's own Rob Font, taking on Cody Garbrandt for the #1 contender spot in the bantamweight division. That is going to be an absolute banger. I cannot wait. Maybe we'll get Rob Font on here to talk, just to talk to him next week, just to get his thoughts on everything. I'm going to DM him, see what he says. So, guys, go to our website, www.flatlinedmma.com. Keep up to date with any MMA news. We're putting up blog posts. Go to our shop, go get some merch, go get some Flatline merch for the summer, get some sweet tank tops, whatever you need to rock our brand. Instagram, thank you guys for all the love on Instagram. We're continuing to grow. YouTube, click that subscribe button, click that like button, go share us, go tell your friends, go tell your mamas. And until next time, Flatline MMA. Peace.